A huge win versus the Flames tonight for the Utah Hockey Club. Robyn and I are going to break it down. Plus, we'll update you on what's going on with the rest of the wild card race. This is the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.
You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in once again to the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. I'm Tom Callahan, veteran NHL voice, joined by longtime team analyst Robyn Leaño, and we bring you the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast every single day. Thanks for making us your first listen when it comes to the UHC, and a lot to talk about here tonight, Robyn. A big win to start this homestand over the Calgary Flames, and like the guy we're going to spend a lot of time talking about in this show is the goaltender Karel Vejmelka. He was a big part of the story tonight.
He really was a big part of the story for tonight, Tom. I feel like it just really showcased. He really showcased why he is Utah's number one guy, right? He just showcases his absolute high level of talent, proves why he's up there. But also, and we'll get to it a little bit more in a little bit, but now 18 straight starts for Karel Vejmelka. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Yes, and we're going to hear what Andre Tourigny had to say about it before tonight's game, but I think it's a quote worth reacting to, and believe me, I'm going to react to it, so we will get to that. As we take a look back at the scoring in this one, Robyn, a couple of things I like that Utah, number one, scored the first goal of the game. You know that I like it when they get out there in front, especially when you're at home, right? It's nice to get a lead. They scored late, 17:46 of the first period. Stenlund from Kerfoot and Cole. Then into the second period, they make that lead 2-0 early. That is the other thing I thought was key. 2:25 into the second, Hayton gets his 18th from Dursey and Schmaltz. Now we're talking. Now you've got a 2-0 lead over a Flames team that they've got to chase the game a little bit here. Now they do get a goal at the 13-minute mark, Anderson unassisted, to make it 2-1. But then into the third period we go, and Utah ices it with a late empty netter at 19:42 from Clayton Keller. Gunther and Cooley the assist. By the way, congratulations to Logan Cooley with that assist. He's now at 100 career points. Great job, Logan Cooley.
I absolutely love that. I'll say it again. For Logan, for any of the other fans and Logan Cooley out there who just want me to praise more of Logan Cooley, I will say so far turning out to be one of the best picks from that 2002 NHL draft.
Yep, you've mentioned that a couple of times, and I know that you're a big Logan Cooley fan, Robyn, and it's great to see Cooley continue to develop alongside some of the other absolute nuggets they have mined from the NHL draft, over the years. It's great to see those guys developing. So one thing I do want to mention, the penalty kill, while they only had to kill off 2 chances tonight, that was huge that they made Calgary go over 2, especially Dursey takes a high sticking penalty in the third at 11:29, and Robyn, it's 2-1 at that point, and this is the kind of power play that could change the entire game, one way or the other.
Yeah, it's one of those situations that I'm always on the edge of my seat for. I always get a little uneasy. I think, especially with Utah, given their history, we're not being great on the penalty kill, and I'm like, oh god, this is gonna turn things sour. This is gonna go back in the wrong direction, especially if in these more high profile games, in a game against, who Utah, they just with who they just beat in this case, in the Calgary Flames. And this is a team that if you want any chance of making the playoffs, this is one of the teams you have to get one of those quote 4-point games against. You need to absolutely get keep them from getting 2 points or keep them from getting any points, and you want to get your 2 points.
But the penalty kill does its job. Veg keeps the puck out. The D does their job. They get through it. And it's a huge moment in the game to get that kill. And I will say this, not that the crowds at Delta Center have ever been bad. They haven't. Mm-hmm. But tonight, the energy in there was again, awesome. And I feel like in the second half of the year, and it kind of corresponds with you see Utah Hockey Club getting better at home. I think one plays off the other, and we can see it kind of. The atmosphere is forming, right? It's taken them a little while, but I think now there is starting to be an identity to this crowd.
There is. I feel like it's a mix of a lot of things. I think it's that, Tom, and I also do think it's you mix it in with these fans sharing an immense amount of love and like essentially like adopting already a number of their favorite players, right? We're seeing Karel Vejmelka and Dylan Gunther and a few other these players become household favorites, and like you will hear names be these names chanted in the Delta Center, enough so you feel the chills run down your throat, because that is it's one of the coolest things to see. One of the coolest things to hear, really. When you after this game, right? When you heard the entire Delta Center crowd just chant Veg's name when he got named first star.
And deservedly so. By the way, how about the goaltending duel tonight? Wolf and Vejmelka. Awesome. Like, Dustin Wolf is going to be in this league for a long time, and he is going to win a Vezina or 2 or 3.
Right.
But it's cool to see, Veg coming into his prime now, I think. And really, this is the coming out party. I actually thought, and for the long time listeners, the everydayers going back to the Arizona days, Robyn, they know 2 years ago we thought that was the year for this. But then last year was Connor Ingram's year for that. And now Veg gets the extension this year. So, but I really feel like this has more of that, okay, he's arrived feeling.
Yeah, it really has. And I feel like the first year with Karel Vejmelka, that, as you mentioned, that 2 years ago, a lot of that was dealing with it was a tandem, right? That was the tandem. That was the Wedgie Veggie tandem. The Karel Vejmelka, Scott Wedgwood, and they had a very close to like a 50-50 split.
It's like the best worst nickname ever.
I know, right? It was hilarious. I loved it. But it was a great tandem, and how that worked was because Scott Wedgwood pushed Karel Vejmelka and vice versa, right? Because they both wanted to fight for a starting position, because they both were finally getting a change of pace. Like, I want to figure out where they wanted to be and how they wanted, and what they wanted to get their actually true break in the NHL, and it worked. Yep. The following year, Ingram had already had a little bit of proof, so he kind of overtook the role in Arizona. We saw that Veg had a little bit of a down year, but then this year it was Veg's to take.
And I love seeing it. I really do. I think it's been a fantastic emergence for him this year. So here's a look at the stats from this one, if you're watching on the YouTube side. If not, we'll give you the podcast audio version in the 3-1 win over Calgary. Shots are 33-28 in favor of Calgary. As I mentioned, power plays, Calgary 0 for 2, Utah 0 for 1. Face-offs dominant in the circle for the Utah Hockey Club, which I love to see, 37-20 over Calgary. Giveaway, takeaway tonight. High level of giveaways. 21 giveaways for Utah before takeaways. Only 12 giveaways for Calgary. That's actually a pretty good number. 5 takeaways. And then they were out hit 33-28. But it was at least close in that category. But Robyn, a couple of things that stuck out is this game, very few penalties, or very few power plays, I should say. That feels a bit like the playoffs. Where every special team's chance matters, whether you're killing a penalty, whether you're on the power play. Neither team's able to capitalize tonight, and a lot of times your goalie has to be your best penalty killer. But I mean, we're starting to feel playoff intensity here, because quite frankly, Utah is on the verge of running out of time, so they have to capitalize on every single chance they have left.
Yeah, they really do have to capitalize on every single chance. And I also want to point out too, when you showed all the how much dominant that Utah was on the faceoffs, and it made me think about a couple other things, not just faceoffs, but just in general on how this player has been performing, not just not just in this game against Calgary, but all really season. And it, really showcased in this game against Calgary. And another just great game from Kevin Stenlund.
It's my boy.
Kevin Stenlund, he's been fantastic. He really showcased it. Very much a reason why there was a domination in the in the faceoff dot in this game, but also not he's putting on some offensive production as well. Much needed offensive production.
Picks up a goal tonight. 30 shifts, 15-22 of ice time this evening. Did get 16 seconds on the power play. They just basically put him out there when they need to win a face-off. 2.5 minutes of penalty killing time, 2 shots.
Remember earlier this year when I was looking at the zone starts and the amount of face-offs opportunities, like that's again, if you wanted to take advantage of advanced stats and take a look at how important a player is, that's the perfect time to use some advanced stats.
Yep. And as you mentioned, Robin, 12-3 in the circle. It's pretty darn good when you win 12 of 15 draws.
Yeah.
Gotta love that, because starting with the puck is a whole lot better than not starting with the puck. All right. We have a lot more to get to here. We're going to react to Andre Tourigny's quote about what's going on with Veg and his ice time and all that fun stuff. I have thoughts. Robin has thoughts. We will discuss. Plus, we're going to update you on what's going on around the rest of this Western Conference wildcard race, because it has gotten even more interesting, if you could possibly believe that. And today's show brought to you in part by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Well, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I'm a big no shells person. It's awesome for the grab and go, whether you're traveling, whether you're at your desk. Sometimes you're stuck in traffic, you get a little hungry, boom, bag's right there. You don't really need to worry about it. But look, I'm not going to judge you if you like to crack open the shell. If I have the time and I can sit down, hey, those classic in-shell option, love it. They're great, but I'm going to go no shells if I get a choice. So I love it. All right, get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño back here with you on the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. Please subscribe if you don't already. We would love to have you on board for this playoff chase. And Robin and I were already planning a bunch of great content coming up here. End of the week, a little tease for you. We're going to take a look at the Tucson Roadrunners, and we're going to take a look over our shoulder. It's been a year-ish since everything went down to get Utah an NHL franchise. Plus, Robin, I know we've got stuff to look at prospect-wise. We're going to do grades on everybody in the team. Plus, we've got the draft coming up. We've got free agency coming up. And, of course, the Stanley Cup playoffs. There's just a whole lot packed into the next several months of coverage.
Absolutely. If you are, still someone who is trying to find a home of a place to look for Utah Hockey Club content, or just hockey content in general, you're a Utah Hockey Club fan, really, there is no better place to tune in than right here on the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast, because we will have so much coming your way. It's unbelievable how much we're going to have, even as we approach an off season, which some people, can might tune away and go to other sports. But if you're a hockey fan, the off season, there is no off season.
So, Robin, well, that's true. There is no offseason. Everything's 365 days a year now, no matter what the sport is. The NFL taught us that several years ago. But if we're looking at this Utah Hockey Club right now, our listeners and viewers have been reacting to this topic for a while. Mm-hmm. I started to share my thoughts, and it's kind of funny because it's not just us. We're not living in a vacuum over here. We are not the only ones questioning why has Veg played, what did you say it was now, 18 in a row?
18 straight games.
18 consecutive starts. And so apparently, everybody, even on the broadcast, like there's been questions from the team reporters about managing the load. And all right, I'm not going to get into my thoughts, but let's take a look at what the response was here, Robin. You brought this to my attention. We were talking about this earlier today, and I thought it was worth revisiting.
Yeah, Andre Tourigny was at a press availability, media availability earlier on the day, and after morning skate, talked to reporters, and pretty much had this to say. This is a little truncated version if you're watching on YouTube, but I will go ahead and say the entire thing here. Opening statement following morning skate, and said, to start, I want to address a little bit to our fans through you guys. You asked me about the load management of Veg. If we get in the playoffs, we get on a run, we're in the semifinals of Game 6, and I tell you load management with Veg, we'll play the backup tonight. How would you assess my decision? We're fighting for our lives every night, and you want us to not put our best lineup on the ice? That makes no sense.
That comparison, Robin, is apples to basketballs. Look, I understand that Andre Tourigny is having to defend his decision-making.
Mm-hmm.
And I am just going to say, as an adult, I disagree with that decision-making. I also think it is way too late to try to explain this all away now.
Yeah.
The load management for Veg should have been taking place weeks ago. You have missed all of your opportunities. And whether it's because you don't have confidence in your backups or whatever the case may be, that's a bigger problem if that's the case. And if it's not the case, if you honestly think your team can't beat the Buffalo Sabres with the backup so you can give this guy a rest, and plus you're now going to ask him to play for the rest of April. Here, let me get a quick count so I know that I am correct. 7 more games. You're going to, and he's probably going to start them all until they're eliminated or they somehow miraculously make it. This is not a now problem.
Mm-hmm.
This problem started probably a month ago.
Yeah.
And I know you don't plan on losing Connor Ingram, but at this point to come out with this quote, I understand why he's doing it. He's being defensive and he's hearing it from the fans. We're hearing it from the fans and they're hearing it from us too. No, this is too little too late for me. It's been bad management down the stretch.
It has been bad management down the stretch. And you're right. It is a bad comparison to make, because here's my thought process about it, Tom, because yeah, sure. Okay. You can make an argument about the playoffs, but here's the difference. We're talking about load management so that if you do make it to the playoffs, I know you want to try to make it so you put your best roster out there. That part I get. But if you make it to the playoffs, yeah, you're going to put Veg out. You're going to put him from game 1. And if you have to play 7 games that series, you'll still play Veg. You have to play 7 games in round 2, you'll still play Veg. You have to play 7 games in round 3, you'll still play Veg. Yeah, that's 21 straight games. But at that point, you've already dealt with load management during the end of the regular season, so he has the energy to play those amount of games back to back. You don't want to have to play 40 however many straight games if you have to play back to so many game 7s.
It kind of boggles the mind because, of course, everyone would question you for playing the backup in game 6 of a series.
Yeah.
Of course they would. But that assumes you got into the playoffs. And it also assumes at that point you are putting your best lineup out there every night. And I'm not saying don't put your best lineup out there, but also understand, and this is part of coaching, is managing your roster and making sure that those players. And here's my problem, Robin. What if, okay, he doesn't play that blowout game against Edmonton, even one period? What if he just never got the start that night, could take it easy that day, just do what he wanted to, a morning skate, get a longer nap, get more rest, and then that Sabres game and maybe the Chicago game, you're getting him that rest every 5, 6, 7 starts. What if then you turn around and you win a couple of the other games that you lost because of it, because you have a fresher goaltender? And this is the part of the equation that, number one, Andre Tourigny is not addressing, the media is not addressing, so we're going to address it, is that just because the guy plays every single night and you lose doesn't make it okay. Well, we would have lost 7-1 to Edmonton anyway. Okay, maybe you would have. But what about coming back the next night? And that's the whole point of this conversation, is so that you can give the days off to get a fresher effort. And some of those games you lose, you might have won. And guess where you might be? Closer to the wild card. Maybe even in it. But you're not.
Exactly.
I'm never going to agree with the way things have been handled down the stretch. And that's okay. I mean, I'm not the coach. I'm just some guy with a microphone, right? And if they want to dismiss me as some guy with a microphone, they're going to. But there is going to be a certain percentage of the population that listens to this show and will hear other people say the same thing we're saying that will agree with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's interesting is someone responded to the tweet that had this statement. This is the tweet from a friend of the podcast, Bell Frazier, and then the response to that tweet says, "I think a lot of fans recognize that the quote fight for their lives was essentially lost when they lost in Seattle. I think it was maybe a little bit after that, but Seattle definitely hurt." Said many fans I know have checked out of the playoff race hype and are looking for the offseason. They want a healthy veg for 25-26.
Especially since you just went out and spent a ton of money on this dude for the next several seasons to be your number one guy.
Yeah. And
it does not look like you're giving up on the playoff chase, by the way, if you play the backup against the Sabres or the Hawks. It doesn't.
No, it says that you're just trying to keep your guy healthy for the possibility of making the playoffs.
Yeah, that's... Robyn, do you have any final thoughts? I got to stop talking or I'm going to get myself in trouble somehow. I don't know how. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I'll get banned from the state of Utah or something weird.
No, I mean, I'm just 100% with you. I do think that there is a level of disagreement, I think, from all of us in terms of the coaching decision. But, you know, and again, Tourigny, I mean, this is still your call. I mean, you still want to keep starting veg. I mean, we can't stop you. We're like, you can easily just, I mean, I know we can easily be dismissed, as you saw, Tom, as, you know, just two heads with microphones. But I mean, at the end of the day, we have our opinions and we've definitely voiced those.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't know. It's not like we're new to this sport. We've been watching it for a long time. I've been covering it for a long time. And yeah, I don't know. That's just me. I've seen a lot. I've seen what to do. I've seen what not to do. And I have my opinions. So there you go. Robyn has her opinions. And you, our fans, our listeners, our viewers, you have your opinions. Put them down in the comments. We want to hear from you. Reach out to us on social media. Let us know what you're thinking. All right. Let's take a look at the rest of the Western race here. Oh, who can anybody stop the St. Louis Blues? That is my next question.
And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you can stop managing money and start building wealth. I know when I started using Monarch Money, I realized how much money I was spending on food delivery. Really, I felt like I did it way too much. And now I budget a lot smarter and able to work in a lot more of really everything put on there. Don't have to go through all the apps of all of my 401ks and all my other investment accounts I have going on, my banking accounts, and just absolutely everything. It's really it's a huge inconvenience having everything all in one app, seeing exactly where everything is. Managing money is just smoother than ever. You can keep track of everything, set goals, and stay on the same page without all that stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year.
Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño here with you as we head into our final segment of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. Big win against the Flames here tonight, 3-1 with an empty netter for the Utah Hockey Club. But Robyn, once again, the St. Louis Blues put one in the win column, an overtime win for them over Detroit. They've won 10 in a row, and they have now jumped in front of the Minnesota Wild. They are in the 7th spot now. And, of course, Utah gets the 2 points in regulation with this win, so denies Calgary the chance to get any closer to Minnesota. That gap remains 6 points right now, and Vancouver is 7 points. Utah Hockey Club is 8 points. The difference is Calgary and Vancouver have now played 74 games. Utah has played 75. So the UHC has 7 left. 14 possible points that could get them to 94. And at this point, so Minnesota needs 7 points to lock them out. I don't know what the tiebreakers are off the top of my head with the Wild. But if the Wild pick up 7 points, it's not going to be a tie. That is when Utah's playoff chance ends. So there's still a chance here down the stretch, but the help is required.
Help is required, and it's not only help required, as it's a reminder, is Utah still has to be perfect. They can't lose. They really can't lose any more games.
Right. Yeah, they got to go 7-0 the rest of the way now. And it's hard to imagine anything less, maybe 6-1. So, but
like
they've got
6-0-1.
Yeah, they've got to find a way to get points in every single game, and they've got to win most of them. They got to win 6 out of 7, get the 2, and maybe they can get a single point in one of them. So you got Kings, Jets, Kraken, Preds at home, and then you're on the road, which is a tough ask. Dallas, Nashville, St. Louis on the last day of the regular season. Man, I really would have loved to see a St. Louis-Utah battle on the last day of the regular season to determine that wild card, but I think St. Louis is going to pull away from Minnesota now.
Oh, yeah, no, St. Louis just cannot be stopped, and Minnesota they're struggling to find what they're going to be. I mean, like I said it earlier, earlier, and I'll say it again. If Minnesota completely, falls out, and one of Calgary, Vancouver, Utah takes their place in the final wild card spot, somebody, or maybe just everybody, is getting fired. Like I feel like Minnesota would just clean house.
I just don't see it happening. I think they're going to get in. Plus, here's the other thing, too, is this is the last year of their being in cap hell. I think Minnesota is going to be a different team next year. They'll be back to being competitive, which is not great news for Utah, right? I mean, they've got to worry about that as well. The Central's stacked. This division is tough. It's been tough for years. And the fact that Chicago is not in the conversation right now makes it even more frightening. Winnipeg's awesome. Colorado's great. Dallas is super good. The Blues have woken back up again. The Wild were surprising this year and are going to be good again next year. Utah, if you're number 6 in line, you got to find a way to be number 5 and then number 4 and then number 3. You got to climb this ladder. And so that's what the development and the growth of Utah Hockey Club is going to be all about here in the coming seasons. But St. Louis is putting it together at the right time. Now, I will say this. The year I was in Nashville and we ended up getting caught and passed by the Anaheim Ducks, they roared all the way into 4th. We actually lost home ice in that series because Anaheim won something crazy, like 13 of the last 14. No one wanted to face the Ducks. We beat them in 6 because they got into the playoffs. They spent all this emotional capital, Robyn, getting to the postseason, and they were just flat in round 1. They had a little bit of carryover in games 1 and 2, and then they just ran out of gas. And I am worried about that happening to St. Louis.
I mean, yes, but also let's also remember the St. Louis Blues of 2019.
Right.
That's also, and again, that's the same team. I said the St. Louis Blues again. I mean, that's the St. Louis Blues. They were one of the worst teams earlier in the year, and all of a sudden they go on a resurgence, and off the backs of Jordan Binnington, makes them really hot, and then passes so many teams through the Western Conference side of the playoffs and goes on to win the Stanley Cup.
Robyn, on January 3rd, 2019, they were dead last. They were team 32. They were last on January 3rd and went from there to win the Stanley Cup. So that is a run for the ages.
Yeah, you can understand why I'm a little so bitter about that year as someone who is still at the time a extremely diehard fan of the team that was their Western Conference opponent in the finals.
Yep, they had. I'll tell you what. Sometimes you can't always identify a team of destiny, but that year it was the Blues. It just was. I'm sorry. I know the Sharks are always bridesmaids. That's just the way it's been.
I'll just say that Game 7 that year, there for the Sharks in round 1, that felt like destiny. But that's another.
Oh, you mean the Phantom call where they scored 3 times on the major power play to knock Vegas out? Yeah.
Hey, still scoring 4 times in one power play. It's still.
That was just that was a tough way to lose. But Vegas bounced back nicely. They found a way to win a cup. Okay. Well, Robyn, anything else you want to wrap us up with here before we head on out the door?
No. I just say just remember Utah's gonna be perfect. If they have any chance of making the playoffs. The chances are still slim, but if you want to hold out hope, there's still it's not 0 yet.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Darn right.
More like 1 in a million. But there is a chance. Hope springs eternal. Why? Because it's sports. And Robyn, what do you always say?
What do I always say?
Hockey is dumb.
There it is.
Hockey is dumb. It is. All right. So if you have questions, comments, care for a mint, want to reach out to us on social media, Robyn, where can they find us?
I can find us just about everywhere on social media. We're mostly active on the app formerly known as Twitter, now known for some reason as X, at @LO_NHL Utah. You can find me personally at Robyn_Leaño. Also, you can find me on Blue Sky. I'm not as active there, but I'm over there also at Robyn Ice Time.
And I'm at Tom Talks on Blue Sky and at Callahan on Air on Twitter. You'll have a way better chance to catch me on Blue Sky. But we do read all the comments. We go through everything that's on the YouTube side as well. So, hey, if you're still here, subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you hit the thumbs up with the algorithm for the video. That helps us, and it helps you as well find some more great hockey content. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Kings coming up on Thursday, but a huge win against the Flames here tonight, 3-1 for the Utah Hockey Club. For Robyn, I'm Tom. Thanks for being a part of this Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.